Hello, this is the Mae B Mindful Podcast, and I am your host, Hannah Mae. I'm a mother of 6, conscious birth instructor and educator, spiritual growth facilitator, and certified hypnotist. This podcast is about inspiring hope, expanding awareness and consciousness in order to revolutionize the way we live and experience our lives. You can expect thought-provoking episodes each week spanning a range of topics, drawing from both my own journey of transformation and healing and working with others. I hope you find this podcast to be informative, refreshing, illuminating, and instrumental in your own soul's evolution and growth. Let's jump right in. Welcome back. Welcome back. Sorry. Welcome back to the Mae B Mindful Podcast. I don't know what just came over me. I'm your host, Hannah Mae. And this week's episode is on hypnosis and the mind, and not the mind as in the brain necessarily so much. Although, of course, that's part of our mind. That's the very human part of our mind. But the mind that is the more ever vast and expansive layers of the subconscious that is integral with spirit. That's what I really want to talk about, and being able to access that through hypnosis and getting agency in our thinking back, which is going to do nothing but empower and help us in aligning with and accessing the truth in who we are and how we live our lives and how we experience our lives. Because life sometimes can just be a shit show. And depending on what we come with, and our early experiences in life and the messages that get pressed into us as children and the conditioning, even when the best meaning of folk are involved, it's just there's stuff to undo. There's always stuff to undo, because the fact of the matter is our parents and the people that raise us are humans just like we are. And they have their own false conditioning that they need to look at. So, it is said that the subconscious is the gateway to the soul. And that just really excites the shit out of me, because it's true. In my experience, it's true. And the soul work is what I'm interested in. The soul work is what is most exciting to me, because that can really expand our experience. It can allow us to overcome our problems, transcend our problems. And it all really starts in our thought life. And when we can take a look at the beliefs and ideas that we're operating from, and then change the ones that don't work, that are really stunting us and handicapping us and limiting. And we can do that very effectively and efficiently in hypnosis as compared to other modalities. And I speak from my own experience with that, because I'm really for what's effective. And I ultimately want a solution that works. And I think there's a place for therapy, and I think it's great. And I think it's really helpful for a lot of people. And at one point in my life, it was very helpful for me. But there was only so much I could address in the conscious mind. And then at a certain point, I was just frustrated, and it sort of turned on me, because I was like, well, I felt like I knew myself really well. I had all these awarenesses. I thought anyways, I understood where things were coming from, and I could dissect and analyze and kind of go down those rabbit holes. But then I was still left with a problem. And what I really needed to do was heal. And what I really needed to do was have a new experience. And I really needed a powerful experience that could reach those places in me that were lost. I needed to reclaim parts of myself. I needed to find lost parts of myself. And I just couldn't do that rationally, logically. And this is why, mindfulness coaches or life coaches can be great, but they can really only take us so far. And when it comes to the spiritual experience, that's the thing that's going to transcend and overcome our problems. And if you look at least our unsolvable problems, and if you look at the formula of 12-step, for example, People don't end up in 12-step because they want to. They're not like, that's a good idea. Let me go there. It's usually the last thing people want to do. And those are the people, ironically, that need it because they've tried everything else and they've not succeeded. Or they've made progress in some areas, but their problem still has them pinned. And there's a reason why the formula in those programs is effective, and it's because it requires one to have an entire psychic change and spiritual awakening in order to overcome them. Because here's the thing, the soul is bigger. The soul is bigger. And when we can transcend there and tap into that and access that, then we can overcome anything. So there is no problem too big. There is no unsolvable problem, only in our human minds, as according to our human resources. And our human resources will only get us so far. It's really great and wonderful as far as practical measures are concerned. So I'm sure you guys have seen that. Well, maybe you haven't. The metaphor of that image of the iceberg, the mind as the iceberg. And it's like the tip of the iceberg is just a fraction of it above the water's surface. And then everything else is below the water's surface, the subconscious, the unconscious. And that is the vast landscape within. And the conscious mind, we stay, very logical, very practical. Our to-do list lives there. And if you're an adult and you have a busy life, then most likely you spend the majority of your time in that part of your mind, operating from those brainwave frequencies. That's what it's for. It serves its purpose. But if we want to dip beneath the surface of the limited conscious mind and drop into the unlimited, ever expansive, vast terrain and landscape of our beings, then we have to access these other parts of our mind. And a lot of people think that hypnosis is like scary, or there's just a lot of unawareness and apprehension around it. People are generally either like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. What? Wait, what? Tell me. And maybe they do know about it, maybe they don't know about it, but they're intrigued. And then some people are like, you tell them and they're like, I actually don't even like telling people anymore, to be honest, because most people don't understand really what it is. People have a lot of preconceived notions about what it is. And you kind of have, I've watched people literally be like, okay, it's registered, and it's like this like glaze, this sort of shield, protective shield goes over them, and they're like, back away slowly. I now know who you are. They think I'm doing the devil's work or something. That's just probably an impression that they got from a movie or some other misinformation, because the truth of the matter is, and we'll do a whole myth busting episode on this probably, but hypnosis is a completely natural state. It is just a completely natural state that they've probably been in multiple times already that day, if they've been at all relaxed. And, it doesn't really make sense to me that doing something where you can access your true self, reclaim yourself, heal, access God within, deepen your understanding and connection, stand more in alignment with your truth and your authenticity could be anything but good. Do you need to choose your practitioner well? Yeah, just like you would any practitioner of anything in any field. You want to make sure that they're in alignment with your values and that you feel comfortable with them. I wouldn't get a massage from somebody if I didn't feel comfortable with them touching my body, right? I would be like, no. So what is hypnosis? I know we've already kind of mentioned a few things that are sort of vague and esoteric, but that really just mirror my excitement about it. But practically speaking, it's a heightened state of focus, a deep state of relaxation. I'm sure you've all experienced driving on a familiar route that you don't really have to pay attention to the directions for, and you know where you're going. And maybe at some point on the journey, or even at your destination, you're like, it suddenly occurs to you, you're like, whoa, I just passed like 17 exits and took some turns, and I don't really remember any of it, but I know I'm okay and I got here. It's because your conscious mind didn't have to really focus on that, and it was able to let go, and you got there just fine because your body knew how to get there. Your mind knew how to get there. And so that information is easily accessible in the subconscious, because your subconscious holds and stores all the information ever received. any experience, anything heard, any perception. It's all in there. And that is what creates our value systems and our beliefs and our ideas. Or you look at a kid playing video games, right? And they're like super hyper focused, and good luck trying to get their attention. And it's not that they're checked out. It's not that they're unconscious. They are incredibly aware. They're just very focused on what's important to them in that moment. And so it's probably the same if you're watching a really good movie or a show. And depending on how objective or subjective a person's disposition is, that can also determine how involved they're going to be in that. My husband is very sort of objective and views things as an outsider oftentimes, and I'm very subjective. So I'm actually like in that movie. I'm actually experiencing that. That movie is my real life in that moment while I'm watching it. And so I'm a great hypnosis candidate for that reason. And not that another person who's not that way can't also have a powerful experience in hypnosis. I just think it's interesting to note our differences and how our minds work. So yeah, so there's some misconceptions, some misunderstanding. And when people have a clear understanding that it's very safe, it's very natural, and I'm not going to do anything that I'm not willing to do. It's like in those stage shows, I don't know if you've ever seen, I saw one when I was in high school. I think I was in 10th grade. And as a 10th grader, I was very self-conscious, apprehensive, and I was not going to get on stage. I was not going to be a volunteer in one of those shows. And what I saw was horrifying. But what I came to understand was that those people that got up and did foolish things in front of their classmates and peers were already consenting. So they were able to relax enough to be hypnotized, to accept those suggestions very willingly in full consent. And so they were excellent candidates. If you had forced me to get up on that stage, I would not have been relaxed. I would have been very tense and very controlled, and I just wouldn't have accepted those suggestions, and I would have made the hypnotist look stupid. But he's counting on people that are going to get up there that are already open, willing, and consenting. Does that make sense? And so hypnosis is a natural state. There's nothing wrong with it. It's like how we were made, and it's an incredible gift. If you drop into a creative state, a flow state, and interestingly, in order to conceive creative ideas and be operating in that part of our genius, we need to be very relaxed, right? And so if we're controlled, if we're stressed, if we're thinking, that creative process is not going to unfold. And so having a practice that we can build in is really, really wonderful. There have been times where I have done sessions with people for the first time and they've never done hypnosis before, and they walk away feeling like they have not felt that relaxed and rested in a very long time. And so it's important to do for ourselves. Children are, in fact, almost always in hypnosis in their early years. They're most often in a play state when their world is well and everything's in harmony. They're in the land of imagination and they're able to access that beautifully, and that comes very naturally to them. And that really is their superpower. And that's why these are the most formative years. We're very receptive to suggestion in that state. And so anything and everything is a message. Even small messages repeated over and over again are pressed into our consciousness as children, and they become a part of our belief system and how we operate from. And this has helped me so much to understand as a mother and to heal some of my stuff and to go into the circuitry, so to speak, which is what you're doing in hypnosis in order to rewire some of the stuff that's no longer working as an adult. And it's helped me so much to understand and to bring some awareness as to how I parent and the messages that I'm giving and I the way that I teach and the way that I impart these messages. We get these beliefs and ideas, and for better or worse, they become part of our security structures that then we want to go and uphold in life. And depending on what that is and what kind of a foundation that structure is built on, that could either really work for us or we could need to really do a renovation there. Maybe there's this one problem in the foundation that can be easily addressed. Or maybe, we've got more outstanding issues and we got to start from scratch, and we can really do some powerful work. And it can be done in a short period of time, which is why I love it. And I have experienced and witnessed people make some really incredible connections. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. So once you access and retrieve this wisdom and insight that is already there, once you enter into that place where it is, then you can apply it in a way where it can completely discard and eliminate and make obsolete these other beliefs and ideas that you're operating from that just aren't serving, that are causing you to remain in some sort of cycle that is harmful, that no longer works for you anymore. And so it makes sense if all the programming happened in the hardwiring in our subconscious. It really makes a lot of sense that it would be most effective to go back into the subconscious and rewire. So back to people feeling nervous or apprehensive about it. One other argument is you've already been hypnotized. You probably just hypnotized yourself this morning when you got on Instagram and scrolled, or you watch the news, or like all these messages that come at us. And I would say that really, just like in hypnobirth, which I talk about, we need to dehypnotize. We need to unlearn the things that we've learned in order to be successful. And so hypnosis isn't some sort of like magic state. It's just accessing yourself in a way where you can apply the information as an adult to information that was incorrectly processed as a child as a result of just not having the tools yet. And so most of our beliefs and ideas and fears, they all come from misperceptions a lot of the time. And so, yes, something traumatic or scary can happen to a little child, but the meaning that they assign it is not necessarily correct. And so if you go through life with, say, a belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and that's your true belief, even though you don't like it, you can try and apply all you want, all the affirmations and do all the therapy in the world and get the life coach and get the this and the that. But until you change that belief at your core, then it is what it is. And you can't really override that because that's in the database, that's in the hardwiring. And so when we can go back and neutralize those things and process them as an adult accurately in alignment with the true self, and then reconnect and uncover our true self and true nature and get back to that and reconnect where that connection within was severed, then we can have a whole new experience, operate completely differently. And then we're going to be making choices and believing the information that is in alignment with that rather than this false perception and belief. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. There's so much more to say on this, and I'm very excited about it. So stay tuned for more conversations on the mind, on hypnosis, and I look forward to those. So be well, soul seekers. Mwah! Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Mae B Mindful Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and improve. For more information, resources, and exclusive content, visit our website at maybemindful.com or go ahead and follow us over on Instagram at Mae B Mindful. If you enjoyed this week's episode, please give me a follow, screenshot the episode, and go ahead and tag me until next week when I bring you another thought-provoking and inspiring topic. Until then,